Can somebody please tell me what the hell this is?
And I'm also proud that today we're announcing, we're signing a letter of acceptance to build a Qatari Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho. The location will be host a contingent of Qatari F-15s.
What is that? A Qatari Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho? Last I checked, Idaho is in the United States. Am I wrong about that? We are building an Air Force facility for Qatar in Idaho? What the hell is... Did I like... What world... I mean, what the fuck? You know, now we know why Qatar, or Qatar... When the fuck did we start calling it Qatar, by the way? I know it's been a while. We've been calling it Qatar. But whatever. $400 million. They gave Donald Trump, they bribed him with a $400 million piece of shit plane that the United States taxpayer is going to spend, last I heard, about $1 billion retrofitting. And then, as I understand it, Donald Trump is going to take the plane with him when he leaves office. I still can't wrap my head around that one. How the fuck is that even a thing? He accepts a gift as president, which is fucking illegal, not that that matters anymore, and unconstitutional. But he accepts it. He tells us it's not a personal gift. He says he's accepting it for the United States, that we'd be crazy not to take this gift. They want to give us a plane. Why wouldn't we take it? That'd be crazy. He's doing it for the American people with our fucking tax money. And then he's going to spend, actually, he didn't, it was a gift, so he didn't. But with our tax money, he's going to retrofit it so that it can be used as Air Force One. Well, that's the story anyway. So we have to put all these kinds of fucking bells and whistles and shit into the plane, since it's going to be carrying the President of the United States at some point. By the time this friggin' thing is done, I mean, is he even going to be president anymore? I imagine this would take quite a while. Of course, he's not actually planning on leaving, as we know. That doesn't mean he's going to be successful in staying. I think this whole fascist enterprise of him, this attempt, this project to be dictator for life, I think it's going to fail spectacularly. And I think this is going to end very, very badly for him. At least I hope that's the case. But anyway, this plane's going to take a long time to be finished after we, the taxpayer, finish paying for it to be retrofitted. Then he's going to take it with him. And we were wondering, you know, what do the Qataris expect? And by the way, we call them the Qataris, right? Yet we call it Qatar. Why don't we call it the Qataris? Okay, why is the country... For some reason, we stopped calling it Qatar, and we call it Qatar, but we still call them the Qataris. It makes no sense. Makes me think of Atari. I used to love that game. Well, that video game. You know, as a video game console system. As a Gen Xer, I miss my Atari. Space Invaders, Pitfall, Asteroids is my favorite. Anyway. So I guess, whatever, the Qataris from Qatar, we wondered, what did they expect to get from Donald Trump? I mean, when you bribe someone, you expect to get something. Well, I'm sure they've gotten quite a bit. And today, they're getting the United States to build for them in Idaho, an Air Force facility, a Qatari Air Force facility. What the fuck do the Qataris need an Air Force facility in Idaho for? Are we gonna, like, is our media gonna ask any questions about this? I'm assuming not. It's a rhetorical question, but sort of answers itself. They don't ask questions. They will, if they have any questions, I'm sure they will submit their questions in writing to the chief propagandist, Caroline Leavitt, or maybe in this case, the phony Secretary of War, you know, the Secretary of Defense pretending to be Secretary of War. You know, so he's cracking down on information that can be reported about the Department of Defense. Maybe they will send a written request for information to the Department of Defense. But if they don't want to answer, they're certainly not going to follow up or demand answers. So this is probably it. We probably won't even hear much of this. He just drops this casually. We're building a fucking Air Force base for the Qataris. And that's all we're going to tell you about it. Don't expect to hear any more information about this. And our media will dutifully fall in line. They won't do any investigative reporting. They won't ask any tough questions. Yes, sir. We have been instructed not to ask any more questions, and so we shan't. Oh my God. I swear, I sometimes think that something happened where the timeline in which we were all moving through space-time, you know, we were living in a certain timeline, and something fucking happened, and I don't know if we were shoved into a parallel universe. I don't know if we're in some sort of fucking simulation, and we're in the end stages of a simulation, and whoever's in charge of this fucking game, this made-up universe that we find ourselves in, maybe this is they've decided they've had enough, and they want to see how their simulated world will kind of destroy itself. Let's create a character, an orange fucking buffoon, and make him president of the United States, and just do all kinds of crazy ass illegal shit, and everybody will just shudder in fear and do whatever he says, and we can just watch with our fucking space popcorn as the entire world allows itself, the world that we created in this simulation, all the characters within that world will allow themselves to be destroyed by this fucking criminal buffoon character that we created and plopped into the simulation. To me, I know that's far-fetched, but to me, that makes more sense than this shit being reality. Anyway, I'm out of here.